Hi, I'm Harry Litman. Besides having a podcast, I cover the court quite a bit as the LA Times legal affairs reporter, but also as a former clerk, as someone who in government helped prepare people for nomination battles, including the justice that Ketanji Brown Jackson hopes to replace Stephen Breyer. And I teach a course on the Supreme Court at UCLA Law School. So with that experience and having seen a few confirmation battles, I wanted to give you my sense of how things went today for the newest nominee and first ever African-American woman. Hello, MeidasTouch Nation. Okay, so day one today of the Ketanji Jackson Brown confirmation hearings. You didn't miss all that much, not to worry. It was largely opening statements by senators, 22 of them, on 11 on each side of the aisle. And most of them used their 10 minutes for reasons other than really talking to the nominees. So you had a lot of posturing, especially from presidential candidates. We had 3 or 4 of them, and mainly you had scripted comments. Nevertheless, I've been to a few of these, and the scripts do tell you something. And I think all in all, it was a pretty good day for the candidate, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, for sure, there was some hot rhetoric from some people on the our side of the aisle, especially Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, and oddly Marsha Blackburn got in the fray. But it wasn't really what they had advertised in advance. So in particular, no question at all about the judge's qualifications. People took that as a given. Not only no questions, but actually both sides pretty well accepted that her background, not simply race and gender, but her having served as a public defender, as a longtime district court judge, was a plus for the court. So the notion of sort of the different things she has done that others haven't came in only for praise. And we had thought that there might be a fair bit of attempts to try to throw her off stride. Not, of course, she wasn't off stride. She was just sitting there all day, but to try to score points by saying you've represented some pretty nasty defendants, Guantanamo Bay, and as a public defender. That again, not only didn't it come up, but several Republicans actually endorsed the notion, which, anyone who's serious about the legal system has to, that it's not just fine, but a calling to represent defendants. So what did that leave? And what will she have to confront tomorrow when when the gloves come off? Because we will have, over the next 2 days, 2 rounds at least of questioning by each of the 22 members. And her most ferocious antagonist looks like it'll be Josh Hawley. And his claim, and he made it clear in his opening remarks today, is going to be that she is soft on crime was where it looked as if he were going. Now he really seems to be isolating out a handful of decisions she made in child pornography cases. And he was able to say at each instance, the guidelines, the sort of grid that dictates federal sentences called for something a lot higher than you gave out. There's going to be some very ready answers for her tomorrow. First, she was a district court judge for 9 years. She sentenced over 100 defendants. She will say, with some force, look at the entire record rather than plucking out a couple times when you say I've gone easy. Second, and maybe this is where she'll lead with, she has remarkably strong endorsement from police groups, Federal Order of Police, and she herself comes from a law enforcement family. And then finally, they may or may not get here, but there's some reasons that child pornography sentences are odd, both in her district and around the country, including Josh Hawley's district. 80% of sentences are below the so-called guidelines number. And without boring you too much with the legal details, it's basically because the guidelines were written for a pre-internet time. And so now today, child pornographic defendants, that's the wrong way to put it, child pornography defendants have many, many more individual images, and they come by them in a way that the law would have made harsher before they receive them, because they get them over the internet. That's the sort of high-minded defense of why Hawley's claims really are unfair. But I think both sides know that she's better off just staying at the level of generalities. Now, you'll hear hot rhetoric from others, Cruz in particular, but from my read today, most of that really is sort of general we hate Democrat kind of stuff, culture wars. Democrats want to make law and legislate from the bench. One senator, Mike Lee, actually made his whole 10 minutes about don't expand the court. In other words, issues that their constituents might care about, that they could fundraise off of, but are not really direct assaults on Jackson herself. The highlight for her, and probably the whole day, she went, politely smiled or just stayed composed during these 22 10-minute statements, and came out at the end with a really luminous statement about her own background. Her parents married 54 years, were there together, her college roommates, her husband and family. And she really came across as, somebody who was more than a name, a judge, or even a particular gender and race, but as this sort of very virtuous American success story of the sort that really the Supreme Court doesn't have much of, has had people with much more elite backgrounds. So it was really a very winning statement she gave at the end, composed, but also upbeat. She had a sort of good cheer about her. So I think that gives her a little bit of momentum going into tomorrow. It'll be no picnic, and she'll definitely face some hot questioning. But my sense is that both sides kind of see her as confirmation bound, even if the White House hopes it's bipartisan, and these days 51, 52, 53 votes will count as bipartisan. So you will not see the Republicans as a party engaging in a sort of blood battle, but even you will see a few individual Republican senators talking tough. So all in all, a pretty good day for Ketanji Brown Jackson. Already 54% of the country supported her nomination. That'll probably go up a little after people have seen her. So there you have it, MeidasTouch Nation. Look forward to giving you a bit of a more substantive report tomorrow when the questioning starts in earnest.